Family Radio, Obiase.
Good evening. You are welcome to News at 6 from the studios of Big Family Radio. Now the top stories are: President Mahama has kicked off stakeholder talks on 24-hour economy policy. A psychologist has called for focus on menstruations. Majority Leader has urged Chief Justice Gertrude Torkornoo to comply with removal process amidst appointment silence queries. In the international news, NPR and 3 public radio stations have sued President Trump over federal funding cuts. World Health Organization spokesperson Margaret has highlighted harsh conditions faced by Gaza's wounded and ill. In the entertainment story, Van Vika has commended President Mahama on CD's performance against dollar. Let's go for a quick commercial break, and when we are back, I would give you the details of these stories and more.
Listen to Big Family Radio, Obiase.
Big Family Radio, Obiase.
Listen to Big Family Radio, Obiase.
You're welcome back. My name is Esther Kusiak-Bubli. Now the details of the stories. In a significant stride towards realizing his vision for a robust national economy, President John Dramani Mahama has initiated a series of comprehensive stakeholder consultations aimed at spearheading the implementation of his proposed 24-hour economy policy. This strategic move is designed to foster continuous economic activity across Ghana, ultimately leading to increased productivity, the creation of much-needed employment opportunities, and the substantial enhancement of service delivery within vital sectors of the economy. The consultations are bringing together a diverse array of key planners, including representatives from industry, labor unions, civil society organizations, academia, and various government agencies. The objective is to gather diverse perspectives, identify potential challenges, and collaboratively formulate a robust framework for the successful rollout of the policy. By engaging these stakeholders early, the government aims to ensure broad-based understanding, secure collective buy-in, and tailor the policy's executive to address the unique needs and operational realities of different sectors. The 24-hour economy concept, a central pillar of President Mahama's economic agenda, envisions a shift-based operational model where businesses and public institutions can function around the clock. This is expected to unlock dormant economic potential by extending operational hours, optimizing resource utilization, and creating an environment conducive to continuous production and service provision.
I know you're all busy, accomplished leaders in your respective sectors, and your time is very valuable. I therefore
listen to Big Family Radio, Obiase.
And I promise to be brief and focused in my remarks. This meeting is a crucial part of our national reset. It concerns the rollout of the 24-hour economy policy, specifically the 24H Plus program and the accelerated export development framework, which many of you have already adopted and supported in many ways. Let me begin by offering a clear lens to understand the 24-hour vision. It's both a destination and a program. As a destination, the 24-hour economy policy reflects a state where Ghana's productivity and capital utilization will become so high that we'll have to operate in multiple shifts across day and night, maximizing the return on infrastructure, on human resources, and innovation. This idea captured the public imagination during the 2024 campaign and remains at the core of our drive towards full employment and inclusive economic growth. As a program, the 24-hour economy demands a deep and deliberate restructuring of our productive economy. We must re-engineer our production systems from top to bottom, boosting volumes and diversity and shifting from reliance on raw materials towards the export of value-added products, wholesome foods, pharmaceuticals, garments, industrial inputs, and digital services. Earlier this month, I received the complete draft of the 24-hour economic policy from my advisor, Mr. Guzitano. I have reviewed it, and I'm confident we now have a coherent and actionable framework with which to deliver the results. An effective catalyst for the 24-hour economy policy is a stable macroeconomic environment, which we are achieving through close coordination between the monetary and fiscal authorities. But the program goes beyond macroeconomic stability.
Sterling Olubunmi, a distinguished psychologist and the provost of the Association of Nigerian Women in Ghana, has issued a compelling call for increased attention to the often overlooked psychological impacts of menstruation on adolescent girls. Her remarks were made during a significant forum held to commemorate Menstrual Hygiene Day, an event meticulously organized by the association at the All Saints Anglican Model Basic School in Accra. During the forum, Mrs. Olubunmi highlighted that while much focus is rightly placed on the physical and hygienic aspects of menstruation, the emotional and mental well-being of young girls experiencing their periods requires far greater consideration. She emphasized how societal stigma, lack of adequate facilities, and significant education can lead to feelings of shame, anxiety, and even depression, potentially affecting
Listen to Big Family Radio, Obiya Seye.
Potentially affecting their academic performance, social interactions, and overall self-esteem. In a tangible display of the association's commitment to supporting young girls, pupils attending the forum received valuable resources, including a distribution of free sanitary pads and other essential hygiene items.
Every year, there is a World Menstrual Hygiene Day, which is the 28th of May of every year. And so today we have also come out as an association to educate, synthesize, and create awareness for the girls in All Saints Anglican School in Adabraka here in Accra, Ghana. So one of the challenges we observe is that they find it very difficult to identify who they are in the society because of the societal stigmatization for the girl child, and also when they are growing up, there's so much deceit because of the social media influence. They believe that things happen just like that, and a lot of them fall into wrong hands. You know, during their menstrual cycle, once they start the puberty, once they get to the puberty stage, there's tendency that they start having admirers from the opposite sex, and if they are not properly educated, because a lot of parents have actually left that responsibility for the school, and the school also have enough in their hands. So because of this, as an association, as mothers who are representing Nigeria here in Ghana, we have come together to educate these girls so that they will be able to understand what it means as a girl child growing up and what they can become in future, and making them understand their purpose of existence. Emotional intelligence is very good because of peer pressure and because of the societal pressure. on our girls. It is important that they are able to understand and identify who they are in the society, irrespective or regardless of the bullying, regardless of the societal moral decadence and all of that. So it is important that, like I told them in my speech, that failure is part of the success story, and because they could have challenges, life is about failure and success altogether, and because they could face some challenges in their academics in growing up as a young woman, it is important for them to be able to manage the stress, just like the counselor said, that they need to also manage the stress and work on their emotions, and this is the only way they can achieve success in life.
In a direct and pointed challenge, Ghana's minority leader in parliament has called upon Chief Justice Gertrude Torkornoo to fully comply with established constitutional procedures concerning her potential removal from office. The minority leader's statement, delivered with a sharp tone, included the admonition, "You enjoy the perks, now respect the process," suggesting that the Chief Justice should embrace the same constitutional rigor for her potential exit, as she presumably benefited from during her ascension to the position. The minority leader specifically questioned Chief Justice Torkornoo's perceived silence and lack of public engagement during her own appointment process. This criticism implies a perceived inconsistency, arguing that if the Chief Justice accepted the benefits and authority of her office without public scrutiny of her appointment, she should now similarly submit to the constitutional mechanisms governing her removal without resistance or objection. This move intensifies the political discourse surrounding the judiciary, emphasizing the need for adherence to constitutional dictates regardless of the individual or the circumstances.
I pay attention to the process. So far, I have not heard anybody specifically say that this
Listen to Big Family Radio.
part of the process is not provided for in the Constitution. I have not seen anyone. I have listened to all the discussions. Not one single, indication that this step in the process. People are throwing innuendos. People are speculating. Oh, why is it that these lawyers who are known to be lawyers who have ever represented XYZ are the ones who are also representing the people that somebody decides to choose as lawyers? It's not my business. Are you getting the situation? My business is whether or not the process is respected. Are you getting the situation? Now, somebody says, I want the hearing to be held in public. I want a transparent process. Did the Constitution say a transparent process? Did the Constitution say a process in camera? If the Constitution said a process in camera, when you are being vetted in this parliament and you are being appointed as a Chief Justice, why didn't you say that I am accepting the job subject to me not accepting the procedure for removing me? If you had told us at that time, would we have appointed you as Chief Justice? It comes as a package. The Constitution creates the office of Chief Justice, and the same Constitution creates the procedure by which the Chief Justice should be removed. If you accept the office, you must accept the procedure by which you are going to be removed. It's a package. You cannot accept to enjoy the perks of the office of Chief Justice, and then the procedure by which you will be removed, you say that you will not accept that one. Where were you when you were being appointed Chief Justice? So sometimes I don't even understand where people are coming from. So let's be clear when we are communicating to the public. The president has not engaged in one single wrongdoing in this whole process. The petitions were not sent. Some of the petitions didn't even go now.
Now to end the local news. On the second day of the ongoing demolition activities within the Sakumono Ramsar site, Ludwig Tay Totime, the municipal chief executive for Tema West, conveyed a decisive message to the assembled journalists. He declared that this is not a demonstration of mercy, but rather, this is about the absolute necessity of doing the right thing, highlighting that the rationale behind the demolition stemmed from a commitment to rectitude and proper governance not from discretionary compassion.
So now we're a man.
Listen to Big Family Radio, Obiya Seye. Listen to Big Family Radio, Obiya Seye. Listen to Big Family Radio, Obiya Seye.
Base end of how far back human beings have pushed the water to. You see right behind us is the only water left. If you can attest, those who came earlier on, we see
Listen to Big Family Radio, Obiya Seye.
We are changing the whole ecological nature of the land. That is not supposed to be happening. This is the reason why we are here today. Look at how far we have pushed the buildings. We saw some live fishes in there. Are we hoping to kill all the fishes just to satisfy our insatiable needs? This is not supposed to be happening. And it's good that you are here to witness at first hand. Earlier on, one of your colleagues asked me, won't we have mercy on people? This is not about showing mercy. It's about doing the right thing.
Listen to Big
If
Family
we all
Radio,
do the right
Obiya
thing,
Seye.
we go home and we are at peace. If we don't do the right thing, it affects others who are even doing the right thing. So this is a testament of why we are here, to make sure that, yes, the wrong has been done.
Now moving on to the international news. Grant Harden, a 56-year-old former police chief from Gateway, Arkansas, who is currently serving a lengthy prison sentence for first-degree murder and rape, managed to escape from the North Central Unit Correctional Facility in Calico Rock on Sunday afternoon. According to an official statement released by the Arkansas Department of Corrections, Harden disguised himself by wearing a makeshift law enforcement uniform, which aided in his successful evasion of prison authorities. The escape occurred at approximately 3:40 p.m. when Harden took advantage of a moment of opportunity to flee the facility.
Let's go to Arkansas now, where a manhunt is underway for a prison escapee. NBC's Jesse Kirsch is following this story. Jesse, what's the latest?
Authorities in Arkansas are coming up on 2 full days of searching for 56-year-old Grant Harden. Authorities say he is a former city police chief in the state of Arkansas and escaped on Sunday from a correction facility wearing an outfit that was made to mimic a law enforcement outfit. Authorities have specified that he was not wearing a Department of Corrections uniform. Authorities say that Harden has been serving a 30-year sentence for first-degree murder and has also been serving time for rape. As I mentioned, Harden is a former police chief, and authorities say they are aware of his law enforcement background, but do say that they have access to some resources that he does not, even if he might have a law enforcement mentality as he continues to try to stay on the run from those trying to bring him back into custody. Authorities say that their search has involved things including drones.
NPR, along with 3 other public radio stations, has taken legal action by filing a lawsuit against President Donald Trump in response to his executive order aimed at cutting federal funding to public broadcasters. The lawsuit contends that this executive order not only threatens the financial stability of these public media organizations, but also violates fundamental constitutional protections. Specifically, the plaintiffs argue that the executive order infringes upon the First Amendment, which guarantees freedom of speech and freedom of the press. By targeting publicly funded media outlets, the order is seen as an attempt to suppress or control independent journalism, undermining the essential role that public broadcasting plays in providing unbiased news and uniform to the public. Furthermore, the lawsuit asserts that the executive order oversteps the constitutional separation of powers by encroaching on Congress' exclusive authority to allocate federal funds. According to the suit, the president's unilateral decision to reduce funding bypasses the legislative process, which is the proper channel for budgetary decisions.
NPR is suing Donald Trump almost 1 month after the president signed an executive order slashing its federal funding along with funding for PBS, alleging bias in their reporting. So, Lisa, NPR says, look, it has a case. What is it accusing the administration of violating?
First Amendment. And it's both.
That's simple.
Yeah, you're violating our First Amendment rights by discriminating against us based on our viewpoint or our perceived viewpoint. And you are also retaliating against us for our prior coverage in violation of the First Amendment. Those are two different First Amendment claims, equally viable here. I should note also that NPR has reportedly retained the law firm of Gibson Dunn, with which I was formerly affiliated, and one of their best known advocates.
The recent passing of Representative Jerry Connolly, along with 2 other Democrat lawmakers in recent months, has intensified calls within the party for generational change in Congress. During a segment on Morning Joe, NBC's Sahil Kapoor reported that growing frustration among some Democrats centers on the perception that long-serving, aging incumbents clinging to their seats have contributed to the party's shrinking margins in the House of Representatives. Kapoor highlighted concerns that this dynamic has, in effect, empowered the cruelty of Republicans, weakening the Democratic Party's ability to effectively counter opposition policies. Adding to the pressure, Democratic National Committee Vice Chair David Hogg described the situation as unconscionable and issued a stern warning that it is time for established Democratic leaders to either step aside voluntarily or face primary challenges from within the party. This internal debate reflects a broader struggle over the future direction and leadership of the Democratic Party as it seeks to rebuild and strengthen its position in Congress.
Democratic Congressman Jerry Connolly's death last week is fueling the argument that older incumbents should step aside. If Democrats had his vote, it's possible they could have blocked or at least delayed House Republicans' sweeping spending bill passed last week. Sahil, a tough topic, but probably one that needs to be had.
Yeah, that's right, Mika. This intra-party debate about age and power is escalating, and the argument for generational change is gaining traction now in new corners of the Democratic Party. We know there's been an ongoing reckoning with President Biden and his ill-fated attempt to run for re-election, but now there's a new factor fueling the challenge to this culture of seniority, which is the fact that Democrats are weakened by older lawmakers in their ranks in poor health who keep dying in office. In the House last week, Republicans passed President Trump's massive bill by a 1-vote margin. Democrats had 3 vacancies due to deaths within their ranks, all members with health issues in their 70s. If Democrats had those votes, Republicans would not have had the votes, even with full attendance, unless they flipped at least one of their members who voted present or no. And some Democrats, as you can imagine, are quite angry about this. David Hogg, the DNC vice chair, who has called for primaries against out-of-touch incumbents, told me his party has, quote, empowered the cruelty of Republicans and handed them an expanded majority because elderly Democratic leaders refused to step down. He calls it unconscionable, goes on to say that Democrats must create a set of incentives where politicians decide it's in their best interests to retire, and he says that includes primaries. Of course, gerontocracy isn't just a Democratic Party problem, but they have it on a larger scale. Take a look at this list. The last 8 members of Congress who have died in office, all of them are Democrats. 3 died in just the last 3 months. 6 of them in the last 16 months. Now, Democrats acknowledge Republicans may have passed their bill anyway, ultimately, but they don't see why they're making the GOP's task easier, especially at a time where congressional majorities are expected to be narrow for the foreseeable future and where every vote counts. That is where this argument is gaining traction among veteran Democratic strategists, such as Mike Nellis, who has advised many Democrats, including former VP Kamala Harris. He told me, quote, "You get accused of ageism when you start having this conversation sometimes," but he said, "Look at an actuarial table." And he says it's a fair criticism to say that Democrats need people to walk away and know when it's your moment to go off into the sunset. He insists this sentiment is growing and won't go away in the party until that change is realized. And to be clear, Mika, they're not arguing that everyone past a certain age needs to go. It's about challenging politicians and forcing long-serving members to justify their continuity, to get challenged.
Margaret Harris, a spokesperson for the World Health Organization, provides a detailed account of the extremely difficult and dire conditions faced by the wounded and ill in Gaza. She highlights the severe shortages of medical supplies, limited access to essential healthcare services, and the overwhelming strain on hospitals and medical staff caused by ongoing conflict and restricted movement. Harris also emphasizes that these factors have forced patients to endure immense suffering, with many struggling to receive the urgent care they need in an already fragile healthcare environment.
Essentially, the hospitals are out of everything. They are facing people coming in with the most horrific and complex injuries that need to be cleaned, and they don't even have the cleaning fluid to do it. They don't have the bandages, and they don't have the painkillers. They also need sort of very complicated things like instruments for the bone, face, and ribs because the injuries that the people are suffering are so bad. But meanwhile, at the same time, all the medicines, all the essential medicines for people with chronic illnesses, for heart disease, diabetes, cancer, none of that's coming in. We're nearly out of stock of everything. Everyone is suffering from the lack of supplies. And then also the little ones are so emaciated. They're so malnourished. When you put a skin graft on those burns, it doesn't heal, because their immune systems just are failing. So you have horror on horror, and the only answer.
The new Gaza aid plan, endorsed by the United States and Israel, is effectively sidelining the United Nations' role in coordinating humanitarian assistance and potentially undermining established international humanitarian principles. Critics have argued that bypassing the United Nations could disrupt the impartial delivery of aid, compromise neutrality, and weaken the protections guaranteed under international law, raising serious concerns about the plan's adherence to humanitarian rules.
How does this new plan either keep the UN involved or change the role of the United Nations in Gaza? And why does that matter?
When you sideline the United Nations, you could easily get around those principles, and you can weaponize aid more than it is already weaponized, not just in how much aid you allow into Gaza, which Israel has been using this opening the tap a little bit, closing it a little bit to advance its political and military aims. Now you're controlling how it's distributed, and therefore who receives it. The Gaza Humanitarian Foundation has said that it's open to working with humanitarian partners, that it wants to work with them. But that begs the question, why do you want to work with them when there's already a system in place? Now, the humanitarian actors have said, we will not give cover to something that could be so nefarious.
Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu announced that additional aid distribution centers are being established throughout Gaza with the support and cooperation of the United States. This initiative is part of efforts to alleviate the severe humanitarian crisis in the region, which has been exacerbated by nearly 3 months of an Israeli-imposed blockade, restricting the flow of goods and essential supplies. Benjamin acknowledged that the opening of a new aid hub in Rafah, intended to facilitate the delivery of food, medical supplies, and other vital assistance was met with an overwhelming demand from the local population. He described the situation as involving some loss of control, as large crowds of desperate Palestinians surged toward the facility, highlighting the intense need and urgency among civilians suffering from shortages. The incident at Rafah underscores the significant challenges faced by both Israeli authorities and humanitarian organizations in managing aid distribution amid heightened tensions and limited resources.
And we worked out a plan with our American friends
Listen to
have
Big Family Radio.
controlled distribution sites where an American company would distribute the food to Palestinian families. Well, we tried the first one. We're going to put many today. There was some loss of control momentarily. Happily, we brought it back under control. We're going to put many more of these. And the idea is basically to take away the humanitarian looting as a tool of war of Hamas, to give it to the population, eventually to have a sterile zone in the south of Gaza where the entire population can move towards.
To end the international news, Dr. Graham Groom, an experienced orthopedic surgeon, is currently providing medical care to Adam al-Najjar, a young survivor of a devastating Israeli airstrike that claimed the lives of his 9 siblings at their family home in Gaza. Dr. Groom discusses the complex and multifaceted recovery process that Adam and his remaining family members are undergoing, which involves not only physical healing from severe injuries, but also psychological support to cope with the immense trauma and loss. He highlights the challenges faced in delivering comprehensive care amid the ongoing conflict and limited medical resources, emphasizing the resilience of the family as they navigate this difficult journey toward recovery.
Adam, to our huge relief, is doing much better than he was.
Listen to Big Family Radio.
He's now conscious and responding. He's orientated. He was amongst his injuries. He was bleeding from both ears, which may indicate a basic skull fracture. That aside, he's much better. He was awake. And I saw him this morning. He was eating breakfast with his good right hand, and things were much more positive. We won't know what toll this has taken on us until we're out of here and we go home and we reflect upon it. But the point is, we can go home, we can reflect upon it. Now, poor little Adam and his mother and his father, if he survives, have had an unimaginable tragedy. And even if his physical injuries recover, we don't know the extent of his traumatic brain injury, and we certainly don't know the lasting mental health effects. I think that the population here in Palestine is extraordinarily resilient.
Now moving on to the entertainment news. Ghanaian music sensation Jackie is set to perform at the first ever Afro Jam Festival in Japan this July. The festival, running from July 18th to 27th, 2025, will see Jackie taking the stage in Okinawa on July 18th, Osaka on July 24th, and Tokyo on July 27th. She will be joining a star-studded lineup that includes international acts like Jason Derulo, Rema, Ruja, and Shensia. Jackie shared her excitement with the media, revealing that strong anticipation from her Japanese fan base. I've been getting a lot of DMs from my people in Japan that they cannot wait for me to get there. When I got the information that they needed me for the performance, I had to actually take it in that I was going to Asia. I can't believe it. The Afro Jam Festival aims to introduce and celebrate Afrobeats culture in Japan, a market that's rapidly embracing the genre. The festival is expected to further solidify Afrobeats' global appeal. Jackie's upcoming performances continue a trend to Ghanaian artists, including Ken Promise, Kiddy, and Santrophy Band, successfully expanding their reach into Asian music markets. Moving to the last news, Van Vika has praised President Mahama for her CD appreciation. Renowned Ghanaian actor Van Vika has publicly commended President John Dramani Mahama for the recent stabilization and appreciation of the Ghanaian cedi against the US dollar. In a Facebook post on May 28, 2025, Van Vika urged Ghanaians to acknowledge the president's efforts, writing, "Mr. President, I must congratulate you on the strengthening of the Ghana cedis on the world markets. Are you cool?" Addressing various theories about the cedi's improved performance, he noted, "The true reason could be a consolidation of two or more of whatever theories, but that as it may be, the fact remains that the Ghana cedi is approximately 11 Ghana cedi to $1 today. It was approximately 17 cedis to $1 few months ago." Van Vika suggested it would be narcissistic for some Ghanaians, particularly those living abroad, to be unhappy about the cedi's appreciation. He also emphasized that his statement was not political, stating that it is an acknowledgement of a good job done. So far, call a spade, give credit to whom credit is due. Defying doubts that the cedi might revert to its previous weaker state, Van Vika expressed optimism, saying that he thinks the current cedi's orbit is remarkable for Ghana as a country and that he is optimistic it's sustainable. Your Excellency John Dramani Mahama, if you can take us back to 2007, hey, like it could be, Papa. He also added,
Listen to Big Family Radio, Obiya Seye.
Now, to end the news, the top stories again. President John Dramani Mahama has kicked off stakeholder talks on 24-hour economy policy. A psychologist has also called for focus on menstruation's psychological impact. Majority Leader has urged Chief Justice Gertrude Tokono to comply with removal process amidst appointment silence queries. In the international news, NPR and 3 public radio stations have sued President Trump over federal funding cuts. World Health Organization spokesperson Margaret Harris has highlighted harsh conditions faced by Gaza's wounded and ill. In the entertainment news, Van Vika has commended President Mahama on cedi's performance against the dollar. To acknowledge my sponsors, Ahonto AA Construction Works, Center for Trade, Trustees Network Group, Big Family Multimedia Institute, BFM Store, Dim Herbal, and Williams Pub. You can also follow us live on Facebook and also download our radio app on the App Store and Play Store. You can as well follow us on YouTube and TikTok at Big Family Radio and Big Family TV. My name is Esther Kosia. A massive thank you to my producers. Thank you for joining News at 6 from the studios of Big Family Radio. Have a good evening.
Ken akwaba na didn't know what you saw.
Oh, so in my crowd traffic no more sense. But they forget it. Rebecca was cemetery. Hey, Chale, Upio a nice power. Shebaristes papi, kitchen cabinet, electrical works installation is also a very nice power. Where do you sabro you?
If I butcher a Ghana hire, a Ahonto AA Construction Works.
Ahonto AA Construction.
Just send a mid danger and nice to engine and assassination of a car. Ahonto Darman Timmy Fia complete. It is a open building company. Our Musi Diner one who dinner a channel as we fake. ahoto AA construction works. Omo we dinosaur carpentry work be a father and who be ahoto AA betimi ayama. O hwe me kitchen cabinet no papa. E wa hoden na AA construction adaromanti. Se ba ne plumbing works be ahoto AA construction demuson. Hwe me kitchen ne me bathhouse. Plumbing works e wa nyina ye ahoto AA constructions. And e ba ne electrical installation and design works be ahoto AA construction yamani suit international standard.
Oh, that's very nice. Shetale papa be ayele. Painting so very nice and unique. When so ahoto for na ana.
And e ba ne tile ni painting works there ahoto AA construction master class. Quality POP barristers and now fabrication of modern aluminium works are. But when you choose ahoto AA construction works, ahoto AA construction works so on bathroom doors ne wooden doors BAB say single double and say 1.5. Omusan so to main gate omode governance and stainless steel swai. Cheshe ahoto AA construction for a track kwan a chairman a bank 3 junction ewo amasamai and say asamai kese police barrier. From our number is 0547 118 843 and I say 0537 883 572.